What if I told you that a janitor retired with $8 million and absolutely nobody believed him at first? Well, that's exactly what happened. His name was Ronald Reed, and his story is so remarkable that it completely shattered the conventional wisdom about wealth building. If you've ever wondered whether it's truly possible to build serious money on a modest income, this video is for you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss stories like this that completely redefine what's possible with discipline and time. Ronald was a janitor and snowplower in Montpelier, Vermont. For 44 years, he showed up every single day to clean offices, empty trash cans, and maintain the buildings around him. He wasn't working at some fancy corporate headquarters. He was in ordinary commercial spaces with flickering fluorescent lights, scuffed linoleum floors, and the kind of work that most people overlook. His pay was modest. There was nothing glamorous about his job. He wore the same work uniform day after day, day in and day out, gripping his mop and cleaning supplies with calloused hands. But here's where Ronald's story becomes extraordinary. While working this humble job, he did something almost nobody else did. He paid extremely close attention to how money actually works. He read, he studied, he learned about the stock market, about compound interest, and about the power of time. Most importantly, he understood something that sounds simple but changes everything. If you spend less than you earn and invest the difference, you can become incredibly wealthy, regardless of your starting salary. Ronald's strategy was beautifully straightforward. He lived below his means. He drove a modest sedan. He lived in a simple apartment building, the kind you drive past without thinking twice about. He didn't have expensive hobbies or a taste for luxury items. Instead, he did something radical. He invested his money into blue-chip stocks and index funds. He chose companies that had proven track records, that paid dividends, and that had survived decades of economic ups and downs. Then he did the hardest thing of all. He waited. Year after year, he added money to his investments. Sometimes it was a small amount, sometimes it was larger, but he never stopped. He treated investing like his daily job, just as important as showing up to clean those offices. The money compounded. Dividends were reinvested. Stock prices climbed. The small amount he started with began to grow exponentially. His spreadsheets showed exponential growth curves that climbed higher with each passing year. Fast forward to his retirement. Ronald decided to leave his job. When he did, he had to file paperwork disclosing his net worth. The number shocked everyone who read it. $8 million. The government officials who reviewed his papers literally didn't believe it at first. They thought there had to be an error, an inheritance, a family business, something to explain where all this wealth came from. But there was no secret inheritance. There was no wealthy relative. There was no sudden windfall or lucky investment that paid off. When people finally demanded to see the math, the documents told a clear story. His bank statements, his brokerage accounts, his investment portfolio statements spanning decades. The numbers were real. Every penny was accounted for. Like that single dollar bill a person holds carefully in their hands, each amount saved had been preserved and invested with intention. What made Ronald's story so powerful wasn't the $8 million itself. It was that he proved something that the financial industry often obscures with complicated jargon and exclusive language. You don't need a high income to build wealth. You need discipline. You need patience. You need to understand compound interest, which Albert Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. You need to start early and give your money decades to grow. Just like a small green sapling that eventually becomes a fully grown oak tree in a sunlit field. Let me break down the actual math, because this is where the story becomes undeniable. Imagine you're 22 years old when you start. You invest $5,000 that year. You get a return of 7%, which is roughly the historical average of the stock market. That's $350. Year 2, You add another $5,000 and earn 7% on a much larger amount. Each year, you're earning returns not just on your original money, but on all the money you've added and all the returns you've earned previously. This is the power of compound interest working in your favor. Fast forward 20 years. Your $5,000 annual contributions have created a portfolio worth somewhere around $230,000. But here's the magic. By year 30, you've got over $500,000. By year 40, the number climbs to over $1.2 million. By year 44, which was Ronald's timeline, you're approaching $8 million. This isn't luck. This isn't secret knowledge. This is mathematics. This is documented, repeatable, and available to anyone willing to do the work. The most powerful part of Ronald's example is that he never earned a high salary. He was never a doctor or a lawyer or a corporate executive. He was a janitor. His job paid enough to cover his expenses and leave a surplus for investing. That surplus, multiplied by decades of compound growth, became a fortune. And you've got to appreciate the philosophical insight here. His work, which society often undervalues and overlooks, was actually incredibly important to his ultimate success. It provided the income, however modest, that made everything else possible. When Ronald passed away in 2021, his story didn't end. It multiplied. His net worth was donated to charities and scholarships. His legacy became an inspiration to millions of people who realized that wealth wasn't something only for the lucky or the privileged. It was something they could build themselves. If you're finding this video valuable, please hit that like button, because understanding the true mechanics of wealth is something everyone should experience. So, what are the actual lessons from Ronald Read's extraordinary life? First, you don't need to earn a fortune to build one. Second, time is your greatest asset. If you're young, you have something better than a high salary. You have decades of compound growth ahead of you. Third, you need to invest in something, not just save. Keeping money in a savings account earning almost nothing is leaving wealth on the table. Ronald understood that by investing in quality companies and diversified funds, he was harnessing the power of entire economies. Fourth, you need discipline and consistency. Ronald didn't get distracted by trends or get-rich-quick schemes. He didn't try to day trade or chase hot stocks. He bought solid companies, held them, and repeated this process. Fifth, you need to live below your means. This is perhaps the most important point and often the most difficult one to execute. Ronald could have spent his money on a nicer apartment, a newer car, expensive vacations. Instead, he chose to spend far less than he earned. The difference went into investments, and that difference became his wealth. Sixth, you need a long time horizon. Ronald didn't expect to be wealthy in 5 years or 10 years. He committed to the process for more than 4 decades. Most people quit before compound interest really takes off. They get frustrated that their portfolio isn't growing fast enough. They abandon the plan right before the exponential growth accelerates. Ronald's patience was his superpower. Seventh, you need to understand basic financial principles. Ronald educated himself. He read about the stock market and investment philosophy. He understood diversification, blue-chip companies, and market downturns. The reason Ronald's story resonated so powerfully with millions of people is because it demolished a limiting belief. The belief that you need a high income to build wealth. The belief that investment is only for the privileged.